The Volkswagen Corrado deserves a little bit more love. There, I said it, I got it out of the way, we're gonna move on. Anyway, what is going on everyone? Gels from Fitment Industries, FI Garage, Fitment Industries, Garage, all that sort of good stuff. And we're back with another episode of What Wheels Fit, where we go over and deep dive into all different sorts of wheel, tire, and suspension fitment for different vehicles to help you guys out in finding your next set of wheels, tires, or suspension for your car. And on today's episode, as you know, probably know already because you clicked on the video, we're going to be covering the Volkswagen Corrado. Before we go ahead and get right into the nitty gritty, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already and check out some of the other videos that we have right here on the Fitment Industries Garage channel, as well as our main channel. And of course, you know, once you're done with this video and know what wheels are going to fit your Volkswagen Corrado, don't forget to hit us up over at fitmentindustries.com. Anyway, as you know, picking out wheels for your car is a huge deal, and it's a big step for your build and should be a fun step to take. But you know what's not fun is spending money on a new setup and then it's showing up and not being exactly what you thought. So that's why we are here. It's literally in our name, to help you out. So what we are going to do is take a look at some of the Corrados sitting in the fitment gallery right now over at fitmentindustries.com and take a look at what they are running for wheel, tire, and suspension setups and compare the different types of fitment for each. That being said, let's take a look at the first car that we have today, which is going to be this 1993 Corrado SLC. Now, quick disclaimer, this car is running some wheel spacers in the front and the rear, so definitely something that we're going to want to keep in mind with this car. However, we are looking at some Bbs Rs Wheels with a size of 16x8 with a plus 40 offset. For the tires, we have some Fender 595 RSRs with a size of 205/40, and then for the suspension, we are sitting on some H&R coilovers, which seem to be a pretty popular choice for these Euro cars. So we have a 16x8 with a plus 40 offset, and then like I mentioned, we have a 15mm spacer in both the front and the rear, which brings that effective offset to right around a plus 25. There is a slight rub at full turn with this setup, which isn't a huge deal, and the car is running -3 degrees of camber in the front. With all of that, we get the fitment and look that we have here, which is a decently flush fitment. Car number 2 ditches the spacers, but still keeps that 16x8 like the last car did. Here we have a 1990 G60 with some Klutch SL1s. 16x8 with a plus 15 offset, so if we compare that to the last car we looked at, we're actually getting about 10mm more aggressive with the offset on this car. For the tires, we have some Nankang NS20s with a size of 205/45, and then sitting on some H&R lowering springs. Now, this setup does rub on this car, but there is a note that he does plan on getting the fenders rolled and switching to coilovers soon. So with getting the fenders rolled and maybe dialing in some camber with the coilovers, I would bet that he's going to alleviate a lot of those issues with that. Either way, we are getting a pretty aggressive fitment here with the setup for a flush to almost even a little bit of a poke look. Next up, we have a 1993 SLC that's bumping up the diameter and the width a little bit. On this car, we have some ESR SR01s, 17x8.5 with a plus 30 offset. Again, running some spacers, so we will get into that in a second. Achilles ATR Sport tires, 195/40 for the size, and then sitting on some ST suspension coilovers. Now, for the spacers, we're looking at a 12mm in the front and a 10mm in the rear. So if we convert that into an effective offset, here we have a 17x8.5 plus 18 in the front and a 17x8.5 plus 20 in the rear. Not exactly sure why so many people are running spacers on these cars, but it could be just because the fitment is either very specific and no one really makes the right combination of bolt pattern style with offset for all that worked for the Corrados. So that's why we're going into so much detail on them. So again, getting a flush fitment with this setup. So if you're looking to go with a 17-inch wheel versus a 16-inch wheel, here you go. Following close behind, we get to our last car of the day, which is going to be one of our only examples of the Corrado on air. And here we have a 1992 SLC with some Bbs wheels, again, 17x8 with a plus 40 offset. And as you can probably guess, we got some spacers thrown into the mix as well. For tires, we have another set of Nankang NS20s, 185/35 for the size, and then some FK Streetline air suspension. Now for the spacers, we have a 10mm up front and a 20mm in the rear, bringing our effective offsets to a 17x8 plus 30 and a 17x8 plus 20. Fender Liners were either modified or just straight up removed to make some room for the car airing out. And as you can see with this setup, we get a pretty decent fender to lip fitment when aired out. And then when it's aired up, looks just as good. The conclusion is these cars have some pretty picky and weird fitments to them, and it seems like with the wheels out there available right now, it can be a little tricky to get it dialed in just right. And odds are that you're gonna have to pick up some sort of spacer or go with some kind of custom multi-piece wheels to get your fitment just right. But I mean, it's a Corrado, so what do you expect? They're kind of weird cars, and you're gonna get kind of weird fitment, but we love them, so there's that. So hopefully this helped you guys out in your journey to find some new wheels, tires, or suspension for your Volkswagen Corrado. If you have any other questions, feel free to hop on the gallery yourself, fitmentindustries.com/gallery, and check out all the Volkswagen Corrado sitting in there right now. You can check out all the specs like we just listed. Any other modifications like control arms or degrees of camber, all that kind of stuff will be listed in there as well. But thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to check out wheels, tires, suspension, fitmentindustries.com. I'm Gels. We'll see you later. Peace.